So my fiance and I hadn't been to church for a while, and some things happened in our lives that deeply moved me to come back to church and have a relationship with God, a closer relationship with God. And so I came on Christmas Eve with a friend. My fiance didn't feel like coming. He didn't want to be, just go to church because it was Christmas Eve. And I invited a friend, and she came with her family, and I was just very moved by being in church again, and just I felt so welcomed, and it was very warm, and it just felt right. So I went home and I told my fiance about my experience, and I read some things from the website to him, and I said, I think maybe we should do this again. I think maybe this will help us. So New Year's Eve, we came together, and we brought my two girls, and he's a police officer, and he met me in the cruiser, and he had pulled in next to me, and I pulled into a parking space, and I got out and I realized I was a little crooked, and it was a rental car because our car's in the shop. So I thought, well, I better straighten the car out because I don't want to park in here crooked and have somebody pull in and hit the car. So I had the kids go over and stand with him, and I went to pull out the car, and I had looked and nobody was there, and then I backed up and I hit a car. And I immediately just began to just cry, and it was not the way that I wanted that day to start. I have anxiety, so it just really set off my anxiety, and I got out of the car and we talked with the lady, and he's a police officer, so there was already a cop there to handle the situation. So after that was done, I just had this, serious anxiety, and everything was telling me to go home, and I cried, and I said to my fiance, all I wanted to do today was go to church. And he took my hand and looked me in the eye, and he said, then let's go to church. So we came in and met a very kind man, and he helped us get the kids checked in and showed us around and showed us back to the kids' room. And because of what had happened in the parking lot, we were running late, and I was very nervous about that too. And we went in, he showed us where to go in. And so I thought, he's in uniform, and we're already running late, and the music's probably almost over, so let's just pick a seat really quick. So we picked a random seat a few rows up, halfway down, and we sat down. And by the end of the sermon, I just felt better. I knew that this was where I was supposed to be. And I was so glad that we came, even though I did something dumb. I had so much on my mind. It wasn't even so much about the accident, because I knew it was going to get taken care of. It was just more about everything that had been going on in my life, and it was kind of just the straw that broke the camel's back for me. And the sermon ended, and we stood up, and there was one lady that was sitting in front of me, and she turned around, and it was the lady whose car I hit. We had randomly picked a spot right behind her, and I had no idea the whole time we were sitting there. And she turned around and took my hand and said, I've made a lot of mistakes in my life, and this is just a small one for you. I'm not upset about this, and you shouldn't be either. And I was just so moved by that. And I know that she didn't know everything that was in my heart, and she probably thought that I was just that upset about, a tiny little fender bender, and it was so much more than that. But her words really made such a difference. And when I left here that day, I knew that this is where God had brought me, and that I was going to keep coming forever.